It was just another Monday morning. Elijah pulled into the company lot 15 minutes early like he always did, clean-cut, buttoned shirt, thermos in hand. For the past 3 years he'd shown up early, stayed late, and rarely took a sick day. He wasn't just good at his job. He was great. But that didn't matter much at Crandall and Holt Logistics. Not when your skin color seemed to speak louder than your resume. Inside the break room, Elijah nodded respectfully at his co-workers. Most barely looked up. Except Ryan. Ryan smiled, too wide, too forced. The kind of smile that hides something sharp. Elijah had always felt the tension. Jokes he wasn't included in. Projects reassigned without warning. Managers forgetting his name during meetings. Still he kept his head down. Believed hard work would speak for itself. But today, something was off. At 9:30, the manager, Miss Carmichael, called Elijah into her office. Her tone was clipped. "Cool. Elijah, we've received a complaint. Several actually. Tampering with shipment logs. Unauthorized access to confidential files. And one of the accounts flagged for fraud was tied to your login." His stomach dropped. Fraud? Tampering? He'd done none of that. He stammered, confused, blindsided. But she didn't want answers. She wanted a confession. "We'll be placing you on administrative leave while we investigate. You'll need to leave the premises immediately." Security escorted him out. Past the co-workers who barely made eye contact. Past Ryan, who smirked. Elijah had been framed. He sat on his couch that evening, head in his hands. Thoughts spiraled. His bills. His reputation. His mother, who depended on his support. But Elijah wasn't as helpless as they thought. 3 months earlier, after a string of minor incidents, his reports being altered, files mysteriously deleted, he had a gut feeling. Something wasn't right. So he took action. He installed a hidden camera, not at home, at his desk. Discreet. Motion activated. Just in case. He never thought he'd need it. Footage from 2 weeks ago showed exactly what he feared. Ryan. Slipping into his cubicle during lunch breaks. Plugging in a USB. Replacing files. Copying client data. Clear as day. Another clip. Ryan laughing with another employee, bragging, he won't even see it coming. They weren't just sabotaging him. They were trying to ruin him. Elijah backed up the footage to 3 locations. Then he made a call to HR. This time with evidence. What followed was a week of silence. No callbacks. No apologies. No. A letter arrived. Return to office immediately for an urgent meeting. Elijah walked into the boardroom. Miss Carmichael. Legal. HR. Ryan. The silence was thick. Elijah, we owe you an apology. The evidence you provided, it was undeniable. Ryan has been terminated, and the authorities have been contacted. Ryan's face was pale. The smirk gone. As he was escorted out in his turn, Elijah felt something heavy lift, but only slightly. "We're offering you your position back immediately. With a formal apology and retroactive pay." Elijah held up a hand. "No. I'm not just coming back. I want accountability. I want policies changed. And I want to speak to the board." At a company-wide meeting later that week, Elijah addressed the staff. He told the full story. The microaggressions. The exclusion. The system that made it so easy for them to believe he was guilty without question. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for the next Elijah who might get framed. For the quiet ones who keep their heads down. For those whose excellence is always questioned. The company pledged sweeping reforms. Diversity training. Transparent investigations. An internal watchdog committee. All because one man refused to be destroyed by silence. As Elijah stepped out of the building that afternoon, sunlight warmed his face. The same security guard who once walked him out held the door open this time. "Glad to have you back, sir." Elijah didn't just reclaim his dignity. He changed the rules of the game. But just when he thought the storm was over, a mysterious envelope arrived at his apartment. No return address. Inside, a flash drive. With footage from a different camera. And a note. "You're not the only one being watched." What Elijah uncovered next would shake the company, and the town, to its core. The flash drive sat on Elijah's coffee table like a ticking clock. He stared at it for hours, unsure whether to plug it in. When he finally did, what he saw made his blood run cold. The footage was grainy but clear. A different part of the office, the server room. There was Ryan, and someone else. Mr. Livingston. The director of operations. One of the top executives. Elijah had always thought something about him felt calculating, distant. But never did he imagine this. The video showed Livingston passing Ryan a set of files, then pointing to a printed paper with Elijah's name on it. Ryan nodded. This wasn't just petty sabotage. This was a setup, organized, sanctioned, and strategic. They wanted Elijah out because he had flagged discrepancies in invoices months ago, errors that led back to suppliers connected to Livingston's private business. Elijah hadn't even known he was close to uncovering something this big. Suddenly it all made sense. The hostility. The manufactured mistakes. The way HR brushed off his earlier complaints. This wasn't just workplace discrimination. This was white-collar corruption, and a black man who got too close to the truth. Elijah knew he couldn't keep this quiet. He gathered the footage, timelines, financial records he had saved over the years, and filed an official whistleblower complaint with the SEC. Then he called a journalist, a respected local reporter who had covered civil rights stories for years. Her name was Naomi Delgado. When she saw the footage, she leaned back, eyes wide. Elijah, if this is real, this is bigger than Crandall and Holt. This could make national news. The story broke 2 weeks later. Headline: Black employee falsely framed uncovers executive fraud scheme at major logistics firm. Was everywhere. TV, Twitter, LinkedIn. Within days, Crandall and Holt stock dropped 15%. The board called an emergency meeting. Livingston resigned for personal reasons, but Elijah wasn't satisfied with silence and sealed exits. He demanded a public apology. Not just for himself, but for the culture that made it so easy to silence black professionals under the guise of procedure. So they gave him a platform. At the next press conference, standing beside Naomi Delgado, lawyers and community leaders, Elijah spoke with calm fury. This isn't just about being framed. This is about a system that protects power at all costs, and punishes the ones who ask questions. I was just one voice, but I won't be the last. The company, under massive pressure, announced a historic settlement, part of which would fund a new whistleblower protection initiative across the logistics sector, with a special focus on racial equity in internal investigations. But Elijah wasn't done. He launched a nonprofit called Clearview Justice, offering legal and financial support to workers of color who experience workplace discrimination or retaliation. 1 year later, Clearview had helped over 40 employees win their cases. Elijah stood on stage at a Black Professionals Leadership Conference, sharing his story, his scars, and his message. They tried to erase me. Now we're rewriting the whole script. As the audience erupted in applause, his mom finally felt a huge sigh of relief. Victory at last. You will agree with me that no one deserves to be discriminated against because of the color of their skin. Now, if this story resonated with you, share it. Let's start the conversations that lead to real change. Systemic injustice thrives in silence, but when one voice speaks, others rise. Subscribe for more stories that inspire justice.